The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. What an incredible tour. What an incredible history. What a scary and sad, sometimes, history that this beautiful, beautiful place reminds us of. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Where Wendy Travels, Where Wendy Creates. Today, we are going to take a tour of the once building for the criminally insane, or the lost, the abandoned, the child, the woman, the adult that needed help, and take a look at the history of mental illness. When you look at mental illness, we're hearing about it almost every day from our doctors, asking us how we are, how we feel. However, in the past, we did not look at mental illness the same way. We were locking people up. We were trying them as witches. We were doing all kind of horrible things to people who were mentally ill. We believed back in the 1400s and 1500s that perhaps they were possessed by Satan. They were possessed by demons. However, we know they were not. When we look at mental illness, it took many, many different forms and very little understanding for many, many hundreds of years. But we began to gain more wisdom, and certain doctors that practice here at the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum started putting into place that was more humane, more helpful than other practices that we had for the mentally ill. And yes, we do have different kind of opinions today. We've had different kind of opinions throughout history. We've had children who refused to do their chores that we said was mentally ill and dropped them off at the lunatic asylum. We've had wives with a bad period that we dropped them off at a lunatic asylum. We've had parents who couldn't care for their young who dropped them off at the lunatic asylum. We've had men who wanted to cheat on their wives or have mistresses who dropped their wives off at the lunatic asylum. The wives were not allowed to check themselves out. The women were not allowed to check themselves out. Only men, only the master of the household, only the oldest male could check out the wife, the mother, the sister, the daughter. Otherwise, they were left here. This hospital, these bottles, these walls, these doctors wanted to take mental illness a new step. They wanted to improve and make nicer for those with mental illnesses. And yes, in this time period, in the 17th century, it was thought that to slow the blood down in the body was to perhaps calm down the mental scaredness. We did lobotomies. They did crazy things to people. And we say they're crazy things to crazy people. But some people were actually cured. Some people were actually helped. And our medicine advanced. But again, many children died, many women died, many men died. These grounds around the hospital were not only meant to feed and completely self-sustain this lunatic asylum with the farmland, with the animals, with the gardening, with the manufacturing, with the clothes making, but it was also here to try and help the mentally ill and change the barbaric ways, the torture, the locking people up with criminal people who were not mentally ill, who were criminals. Do you know, just a sidebar, just a sideline, 90% of the people who kill themselves, commit suicide, 90% have mental illnesses that could be helped nowadays by common mental illness drugs. But this is what we did to people. Water deprivation. We put them in this chair. We tied them down with the leather straps. We immobilized them. It's the tranquilizing chair. It was late in the 19th century. We still thought that slowing down the blood in one's body or cooling the blood, look at this tub. Women especially, but children, men, women, were put into the hydrotherapy tubs, not allowed to move, chained down, immobilized, and put in cold, cold water to slow down their blood so they wouldn't be so crazy. Ladies, let me ask you, if you've ever had incredible mood swings from a period gone so incredibly wrong that somebody wants to lock you up, get out of that relationship. You're not crazy. It happens to all of us. Look at all of these old trunks. We are taking a tour of the museum, which is free once you pay for one of the tours. And they've got 2 hallways, beautiful bottles, research lab. Now, yes, all these are old research documents, but they're incredibly fascinating. Sit down, take 20 minutes, and look through some of the books in this room. I think you're going to be extremely impressed and saddened at the same time by the history of these books. Now, they prefer you don't touch these books here on the shelf, but they do have the notebooks open with the copied pages and different things that you can read through. These are, I should say, regular medical tools. However, these tools were used right here in the lunatic asylum. So, unfortunately, they worked on our brains, they worked on our nerves, they worked on different things. And, of course, if you were put into solitary confinement, you were put in there with a Bible and barely any light, immobilized, and left there until the doctors came back. The person who put you in there came back to let you out. Now, this is some of the quarters where some of the people stayed. Now, again, ideally, this place was made for 250 people, but there are some documents that tend to say that there were over 2,000 people, up to 2,400, some reports of 2,600 people that stayed in this medical facility, this lunatic asylum, this jail, if you will, for people who no one could check themselves out unless they were head of household and male and the doctor approved. Females were just stayed here. And if one of the females gave birth to a child in the lunatic asylum and that child happened to be female, she was in here for life unless another adult proving related were to check them out. I just want to pause and let you see these walls, see these doors, feel how many steps have gone up and down these stairs, how many people have experienced this place when it was functioning. It was just closed down in our lifetimes. I believe it was 1994. They moved most of the patients to another facility, and those that didn't have room or were thought to not be as bad were just released out the doors. 1974, I think it was. 1974. Look at these windows, the bricks. Oh, also, this building is a historical landmark. The blocks are some of the biggest blocks manufactured, created into a building structure in the United States. Second oldest in the world. Look. The pink tiles you just saw came in the 60s and 70s, covering the walls. The paint peeling off. And again, how many people have seen the paint, felt the paint, lived inside these painted walls, stared out these very windows, looked outside, wanted to get outside, wasn't allowed outside. And when they were very small fenced-in rooms. This place had a lot of windows to let in light. Light was thought to also be a therapy. Going outside was thought to be very necessary, and that changed things from the mentally ill being locked up in jails, set to solitary confinement. Instead, they were brought to this building with windows and light. Light at the end of the tunnel, light at the windows, light through the doors, light through the vents above the doors. But again, this place, we don't think like that anymore. We don't lock you up. We have pills, prescriptions, medications, doctors, therapy, nurses. But without places like this, we may not have that today. These people went through living like this so that we could have a better day today. And we cannot ever, ever, ever go back to yesteryear. We are humans. We were made to have brains, to learn, to educate ourselves, and to move forward. I look at the walls and wonder how many sheets of encouragement have gone up there. Now the insulation falling off, the pipes no longer carrying the water, no longer carrying the electricity. Electricity. I guess this was oil lamps and candles when it was first built. Red brick. Beautiful red brick. You know, the furniture in these rooms were chained. If you look at that chair that I just went over real quick, it's chained to the wall. It's made so you can't move furniture around. Everything that was left in a patient's room was physically chained to the wall, so it could not be moved. It could not be used to injure that individual. Look at this, hair salon. These old dryers came down over your head. All of the beauty salons had them in the 60s and 70s. Oh, and here we find ourselves in a room. This is the wooden coffin that would be used to bury those who died here. These are the ventilation systems that were used to bring in fresh air, take out for stale air. The doors, the walls, the bars. All the windows have bars. This was a closed-in, walled-in recreation area. It kept people out, but these walls were to keep people in. In the 1970s, believe it or not, we started changing as a society. We no longer locked up the poor. We started understanding the mentally ill. And we started separating the mentally ill from the criminals. In the 1800s and before, even in the early 1900s, treatment for the mentally ill could kill them, could be painful, could be very invasive. We've changed so much. In this asylum, people were taken to the medical building behind the building, which also housed the mortuary, the morgue, and doctors performed surgeries. The lobotomy was started in the 1930s, and 50,000 people went through a frontal lobotomy by the year 1960. Also, in the 1930s, they started electroshock therapy. Electroshock therapy became a treatment that was normalized and given to schizophrenia patients. It was sometimes taking away the short memory to where it also cured the person. In the 1940s, they started putting what some people would call ice picks into the brain to help and be in place of a lobotomy. And that actually cured some patients with only some memory loss. The drugs that were brought in that were antipsychotic drugs, they were first brought to the market in the 1950s. So this is all such recent history that we've gone through so many changes with mental illness. We see all the different bottles. Some of these bottles actually had chocolate and arsenic and not good things for us. But arsenic right there in strychnine. And it's hard to think of where we've come from. But look at where we are today. We would not be here today if we didn't go through this. Turpentine. Can you imagine taking turpentine as a means of... And look at this. How many nurses for taking care of 80 patients, for taking care of 63 patients? Two nurses for taking care of 63 patients. My friends, we cannot go back there. I do not want to be in the hospital and have my nurse taking care of 60 other people. Medicine is so important. Us baby boomers are going to be needing more and more and more medical assistance just as we get old. And we're not mentally ill. Some of us are. Some of us more than others. But medicine has improved so much. We've got to keep progressing. And I am also so incredibly excited about all of the old antique furniture. I had a corner piece like that. The antique desk, the antique phone. Look at this. It's a phone. It's amazing. The lamp. The books. If you like history, whether you want to handle the medical part of it or not, go take a tour. We're in West Virginia. We're in Weston, West Virginia, at the Trans-Allegheny Mental Asylum. It's one of the oldest, most incredible, beautiful buildings that you can find in the entire United States that uses these stones, as large as these stones are, different size stones to create this building. And inside, you're going to see these beautiful antiques. I would just love to put on some white gloves and go through some of these books and read. I know some of you would like to sit in the old wheelchairs just to see how different they are then from today. I love the antiques. I love that the owners bought this place on auction and saved it for all of us to see. You have got to put this place on your bucket list. I know I've talked a lot of gross things about mentally ill, but if you just like architecture, this is the place to be. This is one of the ballrooms. This ballroom, it was refinished, I think, in the 70s, but it's a dance hall. Local high schools have used it. They've had parties in here for graduation, not in this paint room. But I'm also fascinated with the peeling paint. How many layers of paint under these layers? How many? This is a little doctor's room where they treated the patients. We won't go into the details there, but if you take that full tour, I guarantee you 100% you are going to learn so much more than what I am telling you. Because what I am sharing for you is not what I found out in person, but what I found out when I researched the history of mental illness. And believe it or not, this place comes up. The doctors that were here come up. They were leading technology for the world. The doctors that came from this location, that started this location, that dreamed up this location. So, absolutely wonderful. This place is so incredibly cool. And if you look at today's history, or recent history, you'll see, as far as mental illness, that 56% of state prisoners are somehow diagnosed with a mental health disorder. So again, sometimes we do things because we have a mental illness, but other people have claimed that they have one when they don't, just to cover up their crimes. So we're still learning, my friends. We are still learning. And this building is so divine. I have incredibly loved this tour. The tour guides, oh my gosh, they're amazing. You have some of the tour guides have been here for longer than 10 years, and you have some of the tour guides who have been training with those other tour guides, and they dress in costume. They speak as if they are the nurses, they are the doctors, they are the people behind it. They walk you through the history. What happened in the rooms. And if you saw the blurb at the beginning of this video, it shows you how many different tours that they offer. They offer photography tours. They offer nightly tours. They offer ghost tours. They offer the mental illness history. They offer the building history. They offer so much. And when you just look at these walls, at these cabinets, you think, okay, how many people put their lunchbox right there? How many years and years and years ago? How many people looked out this same window on a rainy day, on a sunny day, and now the paint is peeling? The neglect, the harm, the love, the caring. There's so many mixed emotions. You will be surrounded by all of these mixed emotions. And some people come out of here feeling completely different than the person next to them on the tour. You know, what do you love? Do you love the architecture? Do you love the paint? Do you love the artistry? Do you love the history? Do you love the sadness? Look up here. They have skylights to let more light in. And yes, my friends, they did not have elevators. So these nurses were going up and down stairs constantly to get from their places where they took breaks to their patients. Some of the patients had beautiful closets like this. They had a room. They had their own bathroom. And the doctors knew during this time socialization was so incredibly important. They had chairs and furniture out in the hall to have the patients come out and socialize. The lunatic asylums used to be the retirement homes. They used to be the orphanages. They used to be the jails. The paint in this room actually looks like art. It looks like we have taken banners and streamers and strewn it across the walls. No, you couldn't live here like this now. Be easy to get a paint scraper and scrape the paint off, bring it down to the bare walls, repaint, and make it beautiful home again. But we no longer lock the mentally ill up and treat them poorly. We no longer restrain. Instead, we celebrate the history. We celebrate the nurses. We celebrate the doctors. We celebrate the people that came before us to allow us to exist in a place like this, outside of these walls. Sure, we might take a pill or two, and we might have doctor appointments, and we might have life stresses, but we also have brains on our shoulders. So hit the comment button right now. I want you to tell me, what do you like? Do you like the paint? Should I talk less? Do you like the doors? Do you like the doorknobs? Do you know these doorknobs are over 200 years old? This is crazy. These doors are warped and old. Look how old these doors were. And everything you see is electric, has been put in since the building was created. What were on these shelves? What was hanging in the closet? Okay, so in the comments, tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see, where you'd like me to travel next. And better than that, tell me about your mental health thoughts. Have I said anything here to strike a curiosity, to make you think about maybe saying, it's okay that I think differently than my neighbor. It's okay that I act a little bit different than others. It's okay that I feel uncomfortable for this or that. But maybe that's something I want to mention to my parents, my friends, my kids. Maybe I want to mention that to my doctor, because maybe I don't have to feel sad. Maybe I can be happy. And maybe it's just a vitamin imbalance. And here we go, is the ballroom again. Love this place. They've had church sessions in here. They've had balls in here. I'm just fascinated when they add the electrical vents and air vents and the old furniture. Look at that crank. Did you see it? Oh, I wanted to show you this window as well, because this window is some of the actual stained glass window that was first put into this building. And when you go through the building, probably 70% of the building has the original windows. So when you look out, it's like a little glare. It's like glass that is warped a little bit. Because again, we didn't make windows then the way we make windows now. So look at this old rocking chair. I love this. State of the art when it was made. So cool. So cool. And the tables with paintings themselves. The buildings are so incredibly spectacular. Okay, I'm going to hush up for a minute and let you enjoy, and then I'm going to come back and yak at you when I see something I just have to tell you more about. Love these antiques. Love the rugs. And look at these old tools. Considering your house a bright, bold wall, accentuating your couch pillows, your decorations, your frames, but then enjoy these old tools. All of these old tools were on property. Old hole digger. Again, this place was set up to sustain themselves because, again, back in the 1700s, the 1800s, we didn't have grocery stores. And these were lunch boxes. Isn't that cool? Lunch pails before boxes. And these to hold our hot foods in or our cold milks in. This place is an incredible museum you have to visit. It's just absolutely amazing. Love, love, love this place. Put it on your bucket list. Oh, and if you haven't yet, give me a thumbs up. Please, please, please hit subscribe. I would love for you to be on my future journeys. And let me know in comments. Do you want me to talk? Do you want me not to talk? I think some things need a little more expression, so I can type out the words or I can talk. And when I told you before the building was made for 250 patients, they had over 2,400 at one point. They also had a couple of wings for the children. These are some of the toys that were used for the children, or by the children. And they have a couple of rooms full of art that the children made as well. So they're very, very cool to check out. Rain or shine, this is a great place to visit. And again, we come back into the room with the coffin and the headstones. These headstones were picked up and moved out of the old cemetery, but they were identified by numbers. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed yourself. Hit that subscribe button because I want you on my next journey with me. And I've got lots of flowers and cheery things coming up. So have a great day, my friends. Stay dry, use your umbrellas, and we will see you again real soon. Have a great day.